2, 1. Started. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to Radio World. This is Intelligent Man Show, Migrant Man Show, and your true host, Vadim Turkanu. Our aim here is to prove that it doesn't matter where you're coming from or your circumstances. There's always a road to success if you're prepared to take the road. And today, our guest is the true example of why we're here, why we're on the show. His story is fabulous. I mean, I was impressed by his story. From the age of 15 in a foreign country, just with $5 in his pocket, he made up to achieve senior partner in a global investment bank at a very young age. Welcome, Sergey. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the nice words.
Glad to hear, man. I was amazed about your story, and I mean, it's not only me, but everyone. I think is willing to find out what happened, how this transformation happened in your life, and in how exactly what gave you the strength to do that.
Well, the biggest strength is when you don't have any choice. That's the biggest the biggest benefit in life, right? If you need to find out the way forward, and you know that there is only one way, which is forward, and you just find the way to do it, and you kind of keep on pushing yourself until you find the solution for whatever you're aiming to do. And for me, it was to find the balance in life. So yeah, no choice is a big start.
That's right. Yeah, burn the bridge. There's no way back.
There's no way back. Exactly.
Sergey, so what is it you're doing now? What's your if someone was asking what is it you're doing, what's your job? How would you answer?
Well, I'm a professional investor. In many ways that is described. I mean, we invest in real estate, we invest in venture capital, we invest in liquid assets, and now helping other people to achieve their dreams and their success stories, both on the company side. For example, if a startup wants to develop something and come to the market, or a person who wants to have a passive income to freedom, we are providing the opportunity to others, so more and more people can get to the same position that I managed to do. So, and if we can make their road faster, we will be very happy.
So you help someone. Who's your client at the moment? If we look at your clients at the moment, who is your ideal client? Who are you looking for, and who can you help?
Yeah, so there are two different type of clients. The client number one is the startup, relatively young startup that have a good product, a good idea, but maybe don't have the business expertise or the business know-how to achieve the success themselves, and they need the help. They need the help to put the business structure, the financial modeling, or marketing and branding behind it, and that would be client number one. The second client is, of course, private people, private individuals who may be stuck at their job or have been doing phenomenal in their professional life, but not achieved the freedom of time, freedom of to do whatever they want and are passionate about. And we are providing that opportunity to them to be able to achieve the freedom by investing correctly, safely, and securely in different opportunities out there.
Sounds great. I mean, sounds very organized, and I mean, very professional in what you do, guys. But how it happened for you to get there? I mean, I can see what is the camels of you. And if I met you, if I didn't read or didn't look into your story, I would just met you. I thought, like, the guy had an easy life, and achieved a good success. And how did you come to this position? Can you walk us from the time when you were in foreign countries? Because we have some of our listeners are here. I think they perhaps don't see a road, or they don't see a way to to find a way where should they go. And how was your decision? What made you to decide to go in that area?
I mean, I started quite early in terms of searching the way forward. I mean, I come from a phenomenal family, but not financially advanced, living back in Russia. And they motivated me to find my own path. So with quite early age, I think I was 12 and 13 when I was starting doing something, trying to figure a way to earn additional money, which I succeeded with as my first young entrepreneur career, if I may say so, by buying and selling ski equipment, because I was cross-country skier, and it worked out very well for me. So I've started looking where I could go next to actually get that financial stability that we didn't have in back in Russia when I was growing up. And for me, the obvious choice was to move somewhere to get that. And I was choosing between countries that I was familiar with, which was Finland, Sweden, and Sweden, which looked very appealing. So basically, I started searching the options to reach out and end up in Sweden. And I was lucky enough to compete in different tests and exchange programs, and I was chosen from the competition to move to Sweden for 9 months as an exchange student. The funny part of that was I was supposed to study in Swedish, and the language I never heard before, from day one. That was a bit of a challenge, but and I was supposed to be in Sweden for 9 months and then fly back, but I was dedicated to find a way to stay and to continue the studies. And so I spent a lot of time on learning Swedish quite aggressively, and I actually ended up with the third best exams out of all the students in not only my school but the whole county. And that impressed people, and they offered me to stay for more years, and that's how it's all started basically. And
they couldn't have enough of you.
yeah. So yeah, I know, partially lucky, but I don't believe luck is something that you get. Luck is something you deserve, and I had to sacrifice a lot of time and effort. And you know, it's not easy to be a new person in a new community. I was the only foreigner in the whole community I was at. So you know, I was highly a big outsider, if you can say so, and you know, had to overcome the physical challenges, if I put it that way. As a 15 years old kid, you meet a lot of that, but I was lucky there was good people around to support me when needed, and thanks to them I could push through and get that first degree at the high school, and then go to university and qualify to get to the university I wanted. And then it's all roll over. I opened my first company, I was 17, and then I got recruited in finance world, and yeah.
Things started rolling out quite quickly, huh?
Exactly.
Sergey, you forgive me. I need to come back a bit. I'll come back again a little bit. You know,
sure.
Because you know it's not only me. I think you know everyone who's listening is having the same questions. You know, I've also went to. You know, my decision was to change the country to arrive. If you look into, if you have read my story there, yeah. And also, you know, I've been blessed with good people, and I think when meeting, the secret of meeting good people around that you can trust is trusting people and being open yourself. You cannot trust someone without trusting them. You cannot find out that you can trust someone until you trust them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been blessed with that as well. But I just want to find out some of your when you said, I mean, you said quite casually without giving you any credit yourself. But I think it's quite important the fact that you have those competitions that you won before coming. What would you say benefited for you? I mean, I guess there was many people who competed there, you know, for or desired to go as well. What made you win the competition, and how did you prepare for it? You know, what would you advise, you know, for maybe young listeners as well? Like, what are the important things to, because those are the keys to some of the locks of success as well, I guess.
I mean, for if you want to go abroad, for example, the big support is of course the language, and then some practical knowledge that you can be very good at. The practical knowledge I had, you know, I enjoy math, and I'm relatively okay at it, so that I had with me. But then the opposite side of it, the language, is not something I am particularly great at. So to get the both the language and my core skill together, which are opposite, was a very big challenge. So I ended up spending a lot of hours with extra work after the school to study English, which is the language I needed to go anywhere. I spent a lot of hours studying with a private teacher. Private teacher. It was my teacher, but I, convinced her to help me to improve my English. And for her, it was a big blessing, because then she could, showcase somebody who actually spent time, and what's the benefit of that could be. And it was hours and hours and hours. And of course, it was not easy choice. Friends were out there. There was, going for events and activities and stuff like that, and I would be back at home to do extra work. I don't say I was studying all my life. That's definitely not the case, but I did put a lot of hours into get that one thing that I needed right. And that was, it's a lot of effort and a lot of strive to get there. It doesn't come easy.
Oh yeah, I don't know exactly what I mean. The the sacrifice, but it's all about the payment for the future, isn't it? Because you need to pay now in order to get the your future in order. I mean, it's amazing the fact that you didn't know any thing about the language out there. How did everything else? Because I presume it was a bit you had to use your hands a lot, and
yeah.
I mean, how did you manage it? I mean,
it was it was a big challenge. I mean, Sweden is good because everybody speaks some level of English, which is great. It's a good starting point to start communicate. But then, of course, if you talk about studies, right? I was the first day I came to school, and then I had all lectures in Swedish. And I came back home at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I literally went to bed right away because my head was just spinning all around from language I never heard, and I was supposed to understand something from it. And then, 3 weeks later, I had the first exam, which was biology in Swedish, which was a bit of a, so I had to pass it, to stay and to be able to get a good grade. So I literally had to memorize the chapter of the book, letter by letter, to be able to pass the exam, which was quite fun because I didn't know what the answer was. I just needed that the answer was where it's supposed to belong. And so that's how I made it. But it was literally physically and mentally very challenging to get a new language, and literally in a couple of weeks you can start communicating. But my biggest help was actually that from day one I joined a sport team, because in a sport team you don't, if 15 people around you, join a football team. So if everybody speak Swedish around you on practice and on the social, you kind of forced to listen. Even if you're not good at speaking and talking, you're forced to listen, and you want to be part of the team, right? You don't want to be an outsider.
That's correct.
So, that was a big help for me, definitely.
Yeah, I think I mean, talking about sport, I also was learning about the learning of languages and stuff. So the more types of information comes, like let's say tactile information, visual, auditory, the better. So I guess in sport it comes, it came with the physical involvement as well, which helps, of course, the language and the communication side of it, of course. I mean, that's a very, very good observation. Sergey, I had this in my head to ask you because this is something that drove me outside. My situation was that I to run away from the circumstances, the state I was in, it was so the starvation, the poor people around, and yourself, you don't have a means to, there is no future ahead. The situation around the economical situation was so bad. So although I was a sportsman. I was Olympic hopeful, and I was black belt in judo. I had success, but literally, I didn't have anything to eat, quite a lot of times, and no money, maybe to go around. So, and that one day I've just decided, look, I need to change, and that's, like you did. I need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
What was your why? What was your determination? Why did you decide to go away?
It's very simple. I mean, my parents are phenomenal. I'm grateful to them. They're big role models of mine in terms of what they achieved in their lives. And the big challenge for me as a kid was looking at them and see that they want to give me so much more, but they cannot afford it, right? So it's not, and I had a great childhood. We have a good family. But just looking on that devastation in their faces at some points where they, you feel that they want to give more, but they cannot. And that was a decision that once I have my own kids, I don't want them to see that expression on my face. I don't want them to feel that way about me. So that was a big why, and I knew that I needed to get that sorted and structured before I can get my own family together. And I mean, my parents have given everything for me and my brother, and we are where we are thanks to how they raised us. But I just wanted to get what they've learned us and take it to the next level. And financial, stability is the next level for me. I never expected to get where I am today, but it's been it's been a great blessing, and I have my two lovely daughters now, and I can spend time together. We can enjoy life, and that's it's a blessing.
It's a blast, man. That's a blast. How about that's also very quite important. I'm looking at you. You look not I can see inside like such a lot of a big fire, but it doesn't show from outside. What about when looking at your career, how you go up and up and up, and I read some of the testimonials of your friends and colleagues and your customers, your clients were writing about you, describing you, and how did you determine, or what was where are you going? I mean, because looking at the steps, one would stop at maybe middle or even lower than that, would be happy with what they have at that point, and
Yeah.
something just drives you going up and up and up. Maybe you have what drives you there?
It's a vision, and the vision is the key word to success. Generally, it's even more important when it comes to when we're coming from abroad and we need to do something in a new culture, in a new way, in new practical things that we didn't know anything about. And so vision is big, and the biggest challenge I've seen for people is either they don't put a vision in front of them, or they don't put a realistic vision, or they don't adjust the vision they have. I mean, I had the financial stability. That was my big vision. I achieved that way earlier than I expected. So at that point, I could be satisfied. But that's not a life for a happy person. The happiness comes not from the result, but from the process of achieving your result. And so the way I see it, you need to have a vision that is very strong, and the vision and the goal should be so tangible that when you close your eyes, you can almost feel it. You can literally like touch it, and you can grab it, and you can smell you can smell it, and you know exactly the details of it. And once you get that together, you kind of finding the ways, finding the path towards it. And you realize that the challenges that you need to overcome to get there on the way. So the biggest challenge I've seen for people who come and they choose so to speak, to stay at a certain level is the people who don't move their targets, don't move their vision, don't create a new one. But I think that's a part of a successful life and successful stories when you actually managing to achieve, the next step and put the new vision in place.
That's great words, Sergey. That always also motivated me, and that's how myself, and it's out there. It's quite a known fact that the thoughts become things, and and when you have a goal, you need to kind of go there, envisage very detailed your goal, how you feel, what you smell, how it's on tactile. That's exactly how you explained, and that's the only way it will become reality.
Yeah.
If you go back to, like, let's say 20-year-old self, or maybe even 15-year-old, when you decided, when you're out there and stuff, what would you do differently, or what would you advise to yourself, like from the position where you are now? What would you say to yourself when at 15-year-old, for example? What would you help? How would you advise that kid, or that your little you?
That's a very good question, and a very difficult one to answer. But clearly, as you go, you make mistakes in your life, because you're learning. If you wouldn't, the only people who don't do mistakes is the ones that don't do anything. And since I have been, going through different paths in life and different steps in life, I've kind of revisited all the places I lived at and all the places that all the people I've met before. And I think my biggest mistake, if you look on now, is don't, especially when you are coming into a new culture, be as adjustable as you can from day one. Don't, you don't need to be different person. You don't need to accept everything and change yourself, but you need to accept that people can be different, and the cultures can be different, and religion, politics, whatever the matter might be, you might have a different opinion about it, and that is absolutely fine. That's what creates the society that is interesting and exciting. For me, it was a big challenge to come to a relatively small village in the middle of nowhere, with the Russian mentality, in Sweden, which is as big cultural shock as it probably can be.
Exactly.
And if I would be more open from day one, I think it would have helped. And I've seen many people. I'm grateful that I ended up open, and I'm very culturally aware and open now. And I've lived in the United States for a short period of time after that, and now I'm very aware. But I think that many of us, and I've seen many people who are staying in the new society, but they choose not to accept the difference. I'm not saying people have the need to change. You should always stay who you are and stay with your culture, stay with your roots. For me, Russia is the big thing. I am Russian, and I am proud to be so. But you need to realize that there are benefits, pluses and minuses in every culture, in any religion or whatever that might be, and just embrace that. Once you embrace that, the integration will be so much faster and so much smoother, and your own results will be faster, and your success will come faster. I mean, my biggest benefit in life has been that I'm from a different culture, and I know different language and things like that. But that's because I've been able to communicate with my local colleagues on their terms and keep my Russian identity. But if you just keep your Russian identity and not accepting and embracing the local culture, it would have been challenging. And I've seen people like that even in Sweden today.
That's correct. Well, I really I do accept exactly what I mean. I understand exactly what you're saying, because on my road, and I think it sometimes it's hard to change, because that those ingrown cultural things that we kind of preserve ourselves, let's say, to survive in a way, because that's our survival mechanism in a way, which is not easy to be broken. But unless we step out and open ourselves, that's when people will open them as well. That's when you're going to see the true true people, the true person of the person you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah.
And exactly right. I mean, without the integration in the community, there's not much. I mean, you can't go far. I completely agree with you. And you know, I was too busy in my sports. You know, busy doing you know, twice a day, 6 hours a day. You know, every day for 6 days a week. You know, my judo, and you know, while on the way here, and then I haven't. I think my mistake was. And what would I advise my 20-year-old or even that 15-year-old to read more as well? You know, it's like the reading, it gave me so much. You know, it opened up so many angles for me, so many opportunities, so many options out there, and I'm blessed to to kind of to open my eyes in that way. So, and that would be I think my advice, but in to myself. But what about in other 20-year-old when you were 20? It was a lot of change. You were going from 15 to 20. It was so many, such a quick kind of step up, step up, step up. So it's a quick development of your personality. And at the age of 20, you already have achieved some achievements that people at a very older age still working towards that. And what would you advise your 20-year-old self? How would you make it better, make him better, let's say? Or if someone in your position in that at the moment maybe is in pretty much your position where you went.
I mean, at that point of life, I think the biggest today I'm very open, and I'm very social, and I see the good in every person I meet until they until they proves me wrong. I was not that way when I didn't have this freedom, and then I still had some weight on my shoulders from the things I needed to achieve financially. And I think that at this moment the life comes easier once you become more positive about things around you, and it's not because you change that much, but you're open. When you're open, it's easy to accept things. But when you're positive, it means that you see an opportunity in everything that happens around you instead of seeing the limits or the problem. And I think every problem with every problem there comes an opportunity, and with every challenge there is an opportunity. And if I would just, and I'm looking back at myself, and I had some phenomenal ideas, even, and phenomenal things I worked on, that if I just wouldn't accept the challenges or problems, and I would just see, well, this problem means that we need to find a solution to it, I would have achieved much faster results, even more results, and much faster results as one that I have so far. And people who are generally optimistic are impressed me a lot. I'm not optimistic by nature, but I became optimistic why I don't have any weight anymore behind me. But I would say that that period of time, 20 to 25, definitely it would be huge support financially, as well as in terms of achieving the success early, is looking at every challenge as an opportunity, not a problem. And that I would have been, then I would have solved a lot of things faster and easier, and surpassed myself, my present self.
Man, this is great advice. I mean, this is some amazing words, and I don't know. Every business came from from a problem. Like, to look at the problem and try to sort it out. I mean, that's every business out there. It's just based on that. Look at the problem and try to solve that problem, and you're truly correct on that. Is there any person that was very, a pivotal or very influential in your life, starting from 20 year until perhaps now, maybe a business partner, or maybe a father, or I don't know, maybe that influenced you towards changing yourself into better you in a way?
Yeah. I mean, there are people in my life that made that without whom I would not have been here at all. I mean, Kirsten Rönnlund, which was the woman who invited me into Sweden, uh, if she wouldn't invite me, well, she wouldn't chosen me of all the candidates, I wouldn't be here. I call her son as my Swedish brother now, so we became really close. Gunnar Lundberg, the person who accepted me to stay with him for a couple of years when I got my studies prolonged, and I stayed and lived with him, and he's still a good friend of mine. Without him, I wouldn't be here at all. And then, of course, there are business people that I've met. My first boss at my first job, who actually hired me. If he wouldn't, that was the funniest interview I think anybody would ever experience in their life. We're sitting opposite each other, and my answers were just completely wrong. They're way out of what I was supposed to answer, because I didn't have the knowledge for it. And his name is Matthias Isaksson, and he still gave me a chance, because he said that, if you are brave enough to go for your point and try to convince me and give the, have the drive behind it, you will be successful in one way or another. I just need to make sure that you have the brain to back your your boldness. And I'm very, very grateful to him that he actually gave me the first shot in the financial world. So as a role model, I think if you tell me, myself, a younger version of me, I think it would be a bigger benefit. I had somebody who would be a coach next to me from day one, right? Somebody I could follow and I could listen to more in details. That's a big advice to everybody, to find somebody next to you that you can rely on and you can trust, and you can talk and you can express ideas, and that will help you. Unfortunately, I didn't find that, or to be honest, there were people around me who I could embrace as my coaches, but I just was too naive to think that I can do it on my own, and that was, I've done mistakes that I would avoid it if I would just listen to right people and have them close to me. But I mean, all of those people who I mentioned, I mean, without them, I wouldn't be here today. So, and of course, my father, who is the big role model for me in terms of what he achieved in his life. And every time I have a challenge or problem, I look back on him and what he managed to overcome, and at that point I feel that any problem I have is just is nothing.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's very important. I also, I'm what you're saying is having a mentor, and being around the people that are already there where you want to go. I mean, it's so important. If you don't have those people, if there is any way you cannot afford to have one, if there is physically no one there,
Yeah.
that you can look up to, make at least you have, there is, at the moment, there is the internet, there is books, there is other opportunities, but that's the road ahead. I mean, is to learn from people who already are in that position.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, in my new part of life, right? It's where I'm today. The big help has been the coach. I mean, I've realized now that coaching and mentoring is quite important, and I have a coach now who guides me through my business my business world. His name is JT Fox, and he actually the one that pushed me out of my comfort zone and forced me not only to accept where I am, but actually push forward and to put new vision in place, and forced me to search and reach for something more when I was getting a little bit more comfortable than I should. And so I'm grateful to him. So it's always people in your life that you meet, and if they have, if you listen to them and you embrace the message, it will be substantially easier to get the results out of yourself. So yeah, mentoring coaching is important. I realize that now. Unfortunately, I realize that now and not 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's good that you've realized it now and not like 10 years later. That's already also a very good option. I was, you know, it's very important. Yeah, it's being coached. Why let's say it's 80% of the businesses that start, they broken. I mean, they end up in bankruptcy or closing down. But if you look at the franchise businesses that are franchised, the 80% is success. So
Yeah.
so it's only because there is a system, there is like mentoring, like coaching kind of system there that they teach them and train them how to do that particular business. And what you're saying is exactly correct. Is you need to look with any, if you have an opportunity to learn from someone who is already there, you've got to use that opportunity, and because that's the most successful way to succeed in what you want to do. And another thing I wanted to share with you, Sergey, you just said something about the pushing. You know, he's pushing yourself when you get a bit comfortable. I was just reading something. I'm blanking on the name. It's very very prominent guy with nine-figure business, or even 10. He was saying that at one point of his life he was running this marathon, and he saw this guy, you know, like big fat guy, and he literally broke every little bone in his on his feet, and he sat on the bench. He was sitting there, and the doctor said, well, let us get you to the doctor to see what with your feet. The feet were like blue, you know.
Yeah.
What he did, he duct taped the feet and started, you know, continued running, and he ran another 10 miles and ran another 1 mile just to make sure they didn't miscount the marathon. And he looked at it, what the heck, who's this guy, you know? And he approached the guy and said, look, you know, I don't know who you are, what you do, you know, I wanna meet you, I want to learn from you, you know. And he decided just in a flash, look, why don't you come to my house for 1 month? You know, I want to live with me, just I want to learn from you. And this guy was a Navy SEAL. And he said, well, if you're crazy enough to invite me to your house, then I'm crazy enough to, you know, to accept that. So the challenge for the guy was to convince his wife now there's a guy coming to us, you know, and stuff. So what he taught him when he came to their house, apparently, and in the first day he said, okay, do push-ups. You know, he started doing push-ups. So he did. He couldn't do anymore, and he pushed a bit more. So there is like, he did about 40 push-ups, and the guy said, okay, so now you need to do another 100. You know. So what are you saying? You know, like I'm just given everything I could, you know, at the moment. And he said, no, you need to do another 100. Well, he pushed him to do that. So eventually he's done that another 100 there, and he said, like, bloody hell, I didn't realize I have this strength in me, you know, and 40 push-ups. So what he was saying is, you know, what we think we gave the most, that can be only 40% of what we're able to do if we believe in ourselves. So it's like, it's literally, we're leaving 60% of the potential on the table if we don't push enough. And that's so powerful, you know, and you're blessed to have these people who are pushing you. You know, this person that pushes you and makes you grow, makes you go forward. I mean, that's amazing.
I mean, it's a proven point that you actually mentioning, is that we're using a very limited percentage of our capacity, and there is a huge amount of people who use even significantly less than that. You know, and that's proven by, you know, there is a very good story that my coach used to tell, and I repeat it a lot when I do speaking, and I do a lot of international speaking now to help entrepreneurs and to help businesses and motivate people. And the you know, if there is two skyscrapers and there is a small line you need to cross to get on the other side, would you do it? Probably not. If there is a small line to get across and the second house is on fire, you're definitely not gonna, go on the other side. But now imagine the same situation in a skyscraper. There is on a small path to the other side. The house, the second building is on fire, but you have your kid on the other side. It will never be a problem for you to get on the other side. It's because you suddenly become partially limitless. And that's I talk a lot about is how to force yourself to raise all the limitation. I've had a lot of limitation on myself. I put a lot of limitation on myself. The society puts a lot of limitation on you, and it's very tough to try to overcome that, because we're used to think in a box that somebody else put on us. But once you overcome that, that's when the real thing happens. That's when you find your true self, and that's when you achieve the different results.
It's so powerful, man. That's exactly right. It's that's where the magic happens, isn't it? When you don't know what you're capable of until you do it, and push. It's amazing. And so, how people can find you, Sergey? Where are you? How if people want to learn about your business, what you do, your services, where would they find you?
I mean, Facebook is today. That's the beauty of social media. It's very accessible. Facebook is by far the easiest way to find me personally. And then all the business opportunities you can find on my personal page as well. And I'm happy to communicate with people who are interested to do something business-wise, who just need personal advice. So Facebook is definitely the easiest way to reach out to me. I'll be honest with you, I am not reviewing all of it personally. There are people helping me with that, but everybody who I feel that I can be benefit to, I reach out personally.
Yeah, so let's say someone is willing to invest in some sort of product, or looking for ideas, or maybe he's got an idea to start a business. At what point that idea has to be in order to get help, or what sort of maybe perhaps budgets you're talking about, so they come kind of you can help with.
Yeah, so I mean, in company-wise, we are looking at all the options out there. So it doesn't really matter at what stage you're at. We will review the opportunity and come back with feedback, whether it's for us, so maybe recommend somebody. It's not a concern. From in personal, people who wants to find the dream life with freedom, with passion, so they can follow whatever their personal passion is. And do it through achieving a passive income that is adjusted for them. We are happy to explain and to educate how that can be achieved. Absolutely, without any problems. I mean, the easiest way to reach out to us is probably send an email for that particular part. Our email address is post or info@schenv.com. So info@schenv.com. That's where we can, and that's how the easiest way to reach us from that perspective. And
I'll include the email in the notes if you don't mind. And
absolutely.
When we share with the show, people can find the show on our page, on our YouTube channel and the Facebook as well. Sergey, it's been a blessing, to learn about your story. I mean, you're very inspirational and empowering.
The pleasure is all mine. I've read through your personal biography, and I was very impressed. I'm really happy there are people like you that put in things like this together, so we can reach out and support whoever feels that needs support. And then I mean, the more people that can benefit from this, the more meaning we have in our lives. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak to you today.
That's cool, Sergey. Amazing. So I'll see you next time, and wish you very well with your business, and strive ahead and achieve your goals.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, pal.
Cheers.